A very warm welcome to Law and You on Independent Television. We are so glad to have you join us. I'm Uyi Agmofregbe. We are in Benin City, Nigeria. This week, we want to take a look at a very topical issue which has to do with professional conduct, rules for professional conduct for lawyers in Nigeria. We understand, for example, that in 2007, this set of rules were introduced, and since then, lawyers in this country have been guided essentially by these rules. I've spoken off the records with a couple of lawyers who tell me, look, amongst other things, these rules have been able to help us check the trend of having fake lawyers in Nigeria, which of course is a source for concern. As it stands today, we understand that there's an alteration, for want of better words, being proposed to these rules. On the basis of these, there have been misconceptions and misgivings by members of the public in particular, and then of course some lawyers in general. And then you're asking yourself, what exactly in the first instance are these rules? What specifically do these rules say? What is the implication, for example, in the event that ultimately these rules are altered? I've spoken also with lawyers who tell me there are political elements as far as the conversation is concerned. But I also felt by way of avoiding misconception and having facts right in front of us, we should bring people who essentially have a handle on this discussion to help us bit context and perspective into the discussion. We're back shortly. Stay with me. I'm joined by two gentlemen on this week's edition of the program. First is the chairman, Nigerian Bar Association, Benin Branch, Barrister Pius Oyiwo. It's always a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next to him is Osayuki Agbonga. He's chairman, Young Lawyers Forum. Thank you for coming on the program as well.
Thank you very much for having me.
I would rather love to start with the chairman of NBA Benin Branch. You know, when issues about lawyers come up like this, for example, those of us who are not learned are likely going to have misconceptions, right? But we'll talk about rules for professional conduct. What exactly are we looking at in particular?
Well, when we talk about rules of professional conduct, we talk about those templates, those safeguards that tend to regulate legal practice. They tend to manage and to ensure that the actors, the practitioners, they are they operate within certain parameters. They do not do things that would tend to bring them to public ridicule or odium. Things that will maintain and respect the sanctity of the profession. And they vary from place to place and from profession to profession. Like in the legal practice, it's forbidden. Of course, it's even seen as a misconduct where a lawyer converts a client's money.
Okay, to personal use.
Yeah, for personal use. Or so what is meant to be for a particular purpose, you use it for something else. Of course, we are expected to open a client's account. These are some of the conduct, was the measures introduced that we tend to entrench what we call the ethics of our profession. When you are in violation of some of these ethics, of course, sanctions follow. You lose your license as a lawyer by way of being debarred, or you are suspended from legal practice for a period of time. So they vary from, of course they are provided for under the extant laws. Okay. Yes. The rules of professional conduct, of course, which are issued from time to time by the General Counsel of the Bar, makes provision or identifies some of these forms of regulations that would, of course, manage or tend to check the activities of legal practitioners.
In my lifetime, for example, I've seen instances where some persons have been accused of being fake lawyers. We've seen some taken to court, prosecuted, and even jailed, for example, because the law is referred to, the legal practice is referred to essentially as being noble. So you don't want people who come to drag it into disreputes. So we're told that the stamp and seal in particular was introduced essentially to help check this kind of ugly trend, which it has done effectively. But then there appears to be a bunch of controversies surrounding proposed as it were, amendments now. So these rules, you want to help us understand what exactly the issue is?
Well, seriously speaking, just a few weeks ago,
right,
we got up to hear of an amendment, so to speak, of the rules of professional conduct. To start with, the Legal Practitioners Act, Section 12(4), provides that the General Counsel of the Bar shall prescribe rules from time to time that will regulate legal practice and conduct of lawyers. And of course, this, like, is provided for under that act, should be done from time to time. And this body, the legal practitioner, the General Counsel of the Bar, it's, as it stands, or it is called a council, it, for something to bear the name council, it does not suggest that it should be determined or such rules should be made by an individual, but a group of persons.
right.
And the provisions of that law, through the Legal Practitioners Act, prescribes those who should be in the council. Of course, the president of the council is the Federal Attorney General of the Federation. That is the Federal Attorney General.
Yeah, Minister of Justice.
In this case, Abubakar Malami. And some other persons to form the membership of that body. All the states' Attorney Generals, the Attorney Generals of the different 36 states of the Federation, and then 20 legal practitioners from the Nigerian Bar Association, of course. And they meet from time to time, of course, to formulate rules, and then to, of course, these rules to regulate legal practice. And in this particular case, like I mentioned earlier, we got up to hear of a unilateral amendment of our rules. By the provisions and the wordings of that, the Legal Practitioners Act, it does not envisage this being done by an individual.
It has to be sort of institution.
Yes, an institution. And to say that the Federal Attorney General just unilaterally issued a kind of new rules, or which tend to delete certain provisions of the rules of the rules of the rules of professional conduct, the RPC, took some of us by storm, particularly as those provisions are germane and tend to respect the integrity, keep the integrity, sanctity, and the prestige of the legal profession intact. And for instance, like you alluded, the stamp and seal regime, which is one of such innovations in legal practice. It has been able to identify and then to ward off these quacks who are not lawyers but come in to carry out some forms of legal practice. We've gotten so many of them, some persons, and some of them have been prosecuted. And then the issue of continuing legal education, it's provided for in the rules. And it is one of such provisions that have been deleted, purportedly deleted by the Federal Attorney General. And then the issue also of payment of practicing fee.
By legal practitioners.
By legal practitioners. You see, it's really appalling that these safeguards, these responsibility, obligations of lawyers, these things that tend to like bring lawyers together and make us what we are as noble gentlemen, are now being eroded by the singular act of an individual. And to most of us, we see it as really, really political.
We're going to talk about the politicking or the politics in it as we make progress into this conversation. But I want to talk to turn to Sawiki right now, right? There are those who say first, up until 2007, for example, individuals like myself who are not learned could go to court by themselves, file briefs, for example, which on account of this RPC, you can't do because you will require a lawyer, for example, a licensed lawyer, as it were, a legal practitioner to help you do all of that. That's on the one hand. Then on the other hand, you also have those who feel there is so much of politicking now within the NBA already, even up until the point where we're having all of these controversies around the RPC. How much of truth do we have in that?
First of all, on the first angle you spoke about, I think as an individual, you have unlimited access to the court. You can, even in the criminal matter, you can go to courts and speak to the court, let the court know your case, your position. And outside that, let's look at the political settings in the NBA. It's quite unfortunate that we live in a society, in a multifaceted society, where ethnicism, religious sentiments, straining the strings that pull us together as an entity, as a people. Now, if you look at the NBA, just a few weeks ago, or roughly a month ago, during the general conference of the NBA, the governor of Kaduna State.
Nasir El-Rufai.
Yes, El-Rufai.
I'm going to come to that in a bit, but just go ahead and make a point.
He was actually disinvited from one of the sections in the conference, and I'm just trying to give you a holistic build-up to why
we are here now.
Yeah, we are here. Yeah. So you see, some individuals, some lawyers in the north, took it upon themselves to set up or establish a new Nigerian Bar Association. With due respect to that body, they are acting within their rights under Section 40 of the Constitution. Actually, that section provides for freedom to peaceful assembly and association. Yes, they have the right to form an association, a pressure group, to cater for their personal or professional interest. However, when we look at the build-up to that association and how it came into being, you will find out that it wasn't for what some young lawyers or some legal practitioners would want to expect. It was more or less for a political gain, to score a political point. Now, let's take it a step further. Upon being called to the Nigerian bar, you are called to the bar, as it were. You are called to the Nigerian bar, not to new Nigerian bar or this bar or that bar.
It's universal.
Yes, it's universal. And that is very key. Like Mr. Pius Oyiwo, the chairman of the NBA Benin branch, has just mentioned, the removal or deleting of Section 9 of the Legal Practitioners Act, which talks about payment of practicing fees, Section 10, which talks about seal and stamp, Section 11, which talks about continuous professional development, Section 12 and 13. Now, these sections are, some people believe in some quarters that they are strategically being deleted or purportedly deleted from the Legal Practitioners Act. Reason being that these sections are the provisions of that act that gives the Nigerian Bar Association unifying authority over lawyers within Nigeria. Now, like I said before, when you are called to the bar, automatically you become a member of the Nigerian Bar Association.
By default.
By default. That membership is automatic. Is automatic. And that does not take away your right to belong to any association of lawyers. Like we have Federation of Women Lawyers. It is not FIDA, yes, it is not a body under the NBA. It is independent in some sort of ways from the NBA. We have some, you have the Egbe, Amofin, and some others. We have lawyers coming together to form association to promote their practice individually. This Section 40 of the Constitution gives you the right to do that. But your membership of the NBA is very key. If you look at the...
Is it sacrosanct?
Yes, very sacrosanct. Okay. Yes. If you look at the Nigerian Medical Association, it is one body. And the purpose why it should be one body, why it should remain one body, is not... is basically to preserve the sense, the sanctity of that profession, and also for the members of that body to be regulated, to be answerable, to be regulated in some sort, so that they will be responsible to the society. Like when you see a lawyer is not a businessman. though there's this unending debate about whether the legal profession is a profession or a business.
Right.
But it's not like a trade that you learn to just make money. You are responsible to your clients. You are responsible to the community and society. The main purpose of a lawyer is to ensure that there's continuous orderliness in society, and such orderliness can be brought about by a single association. We are not in some jurisdiction. The way our own legal system is structured, I mean, having different bodies. Some persons were called to the bar recently. They were called to which bar?
The same NBA, right?
The Nigerian Bar Association. So that is very key. We have the body of benchers. We have the council, general council of the bar. We have the legal disciplinary. These bodies are there to ensure that lawyers are disciplined, that lawyers are well behaved, that lawyers don't defraud their clients. You know, and we can't begin to have proliferation of the
we're going to talk about proliferation of associations within the legal practice in this country. We're going to take a break soon as well, but I want to talk to Mr. Pius again about all of these issues, right? There are those who believe lawyers across this country, including yourself, I mean, quite politely, are more concerned about the revenue stream that comes from the stamp and seal factor, I mean, more than they are about anything else, for example. Is it about revenue or about the sanctity of the legal profession?
It is about the sanctity of the profession, not necessarily because of revenue. In fact, not too long, the new president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Olumide Akpata, had even introduced a package wherein, upon payment of your practicing fee, you are entitled to a certain number of stamps freely.
Yes.
So it is not all about the money, the revenue that is generated, but because of the sanctity. The stamp and seal regime has been able to expose some persons who carry out legal practice, meanwhile they were never called to the Nigerian bar. It has also exposed some persons too who ordinarily should not be engaged in some forms of practice. For instance, there are persons who are in government employment. Their kind of stamp differs from that of those who are in private employment. Of course, you may not be able to use the other one, the one in private and in government employment, to carry out certain kind of documentation, to kind of to engrave on certain documents. But that's for private lawyers. You'll be able to use it even for commercial transactions. So this has been able to check and then to identify persons in their respective compartments. So to just come out and have that provision deleted with the greatest respect is most unfair, it is ungodly, and it is mischievous.
I read a contribution, by the way, by a very respected senior lawyer, Femi Falana, who also said that the circumstances surrounding the introduction of the stamp and seal 13 years ago, 2007, were for the most part the same as we're having right now. That at that time, lawyers also, like yourself, did not complain. So why are we complaining now?
No, we are complaining now because as the society evolves, certain things are
the realities change.
Yes, and of course, if that at that time the stamp and seal regime, it was in the provision, except that it was not now kind of been introduced it was not operational. But it was introduced around 2015. Yes, that was in the time of Austin Alege, Nigeria, as president of the Nigerian Bar Association. So Apple introduced it, and we saw that it is something that would, of course, promote the bar and would introduce sanctity and respect to the bar. For God's sake, it is something that is most welcome. Lawyers embraced it with all strength. And just as before now, the issue of TSA was not
treasury single account.
Now the past administration, I think during the time of Goodluck Jonathan, introduced it, and of course it is saving Nigeria of so much loss of revenue, saving the country of revenue. Because before now, a lot of leakages, a lot of kind of financial or economic mess in the country. But now it has been introduced and everything is going on. It's part of the ways of checking corruption in our country. So would one now say that, because it has been introduced, therefore we should, the administration that never saw it had no foresight or not? I mean, with with leadership coming on board, different leadership of the bar, people are coming with vision, and then people are coming also with the start with the reality on ground, and then they see the need to introduce these things and some other measures too. I think they should be embraced to continue to check and regulate our legal practice, and not to leave it for quacks to just come in and then to begin to feast. I sincerely believe, and I stand to say that those who are behind having those provisions deleted do not sincerely mean well for the Nigerian Bar Association.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, everyone, at this point. We're back shortly to wrap up this conversation that has to do with the rules for professional conduct in Nigeria. Stay with us. All right, Saiki, as we begin to wind up now, I want to come back to you again. As it stands right now, apparently there are issues around all of these, the rules for professional conduct in Nigeria.
Yes.
And those are the issues also giving concern to lawyers like yourselves. And everybody is wondering exactly what the implications will be going forward. Yes. But again, we can't take our eyes off the fact that all of this will appear to be stemming from the fact that at one point the governor of Kaduna State was invited to your last conference. Exactly.
August.
And then he was disinvited after a few days.
Yes.
And then people are now saying the NBA, or the body of lawyers in this country as a whole, is already polarized, and that already is suggestive of some politicking being an undertone factor. There's some truth in that, right?
Yes. In asking your question, you've hit the nail on the head in some sort of ways. Now, after the governor of Kaduna State was disinvited, we saw the you won't use the word ugly eggs of the NBA, but we saw some sections of the country, particularly the northern part of the country, some individuals came up to say, first of all, question why he was disinvited. And
even though you went ahead to invite the governor of Rivers State, Wike.
Yes, and they also went further to call for some other governors from the southern part of Nigeria to be disinvited. Now, there's a good reason, I think, why the NBA decided to disinvite the governor of Kaduna State, bordering on abuse of the rule of law and all that. Then, this group of persons went further again after some time to declare their own, not even a section now, their own association, and purports to be pulling away
the new
NBA, and purports to be pulling away from NBA to form the new NBA. Yes, like I said before, they have a right to have their own association, but they are still members of the NBA, even as we speak, despite the instrument or the purported amendment of the RPC by the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation. I see it as null and void in this, because the Section 12 of the Legal Practitioners Act expressly mentioned the body responsible for enacting rules for professional conduct for legal practitioners, and that body is the General Council of the Bar, or the General Bar Council, normally called the Bar Council. And that body, there are 57 in number: the Attorney General of the Federation, the 36 Attorneys General of the states, and 20 members from the NBA. Now, the question is this: was there any
consultation?
Yes. Was there any meeting of this body? Now, there have been arguments from the other side that yes, the Attorney General, using your word, consulted with some members, but the provision, Section 12 sub 4, did not say consultation. There has to be a meeting, and of course, there also be issue of quorum. Now, before we come to all that, let's first of all, was there a notice issued out to persons who ought to be part of that meeting to attend the meeting? Now, there's no evidence as far as the NBA is concerned, and some persons have come out to say they didn't get any invitation for any such meeting. Now, the fact remains that no meeting was convened. So it therefore means that the Attorney General of the Federation unilaterally enacted or deleted certain sections from the ROPC. Even a layman will argue that such position cannot stand. So the argument coming from left or right, they should
are they business, those arguments?
Yes, they should focus first on, because in law, when a law or the Constitution has declared that for you to achieve ABC, you must follow 1, 2, 3. So failure to follow 1, 2, 3, whatever you achieve when declaring ABC is null and void. That is the situation we find ourselves.
That's right. That's why I want to give 30 seconds, just before we're done with this discussion, to Pius Oyiwo here. The NBA has a new leadership in place right now.
Well,
yes, this is a challenge for the association, because this is a new issue in front of you. Going forward, what are we looking out for?
well, the leadership both at the national and then at the branch.
Right.
We're looking forward to an association that will be strong, there, and of course, there's a vibrant.
Yes.
An association that will speak truth to power. An association that will continue to be a voice for the voiceless, a vanguard for change. An association that will identify the ills in the society, and then, of course, direct on what should be done. An association that would promote the rule of law.
Okay.
And of course, without the rule of law,
Of course.
society is in chaos.
Yeah, well,
An
that's
association that will also guarantee the independence of the judiciary.
Okay, I think that's where that's just a fine place to leave this discussion. Everyone on the program for this week, I've been talking to two very brilliant gentlemen who have been having incisive conversation with me today. We'll be talking about all of the issues around the rules of professional conduct for legal practitioners in Nigeria. Barrister Pius Oyiwo is the chairman, Nigerian Bar Association, Benin branch, and next to him is Osayuki Agbonga, is chairman of Young Lawyers Forum. We want to thank you two gentlemen for making our time to join us on the program. We do appreciate it. Okay, that's a wrap on the program for this week. And we at Mofwegwe. We're back here next week, Monday. Enjoy the rest of your day, and our coverage on ITV continues.